Okay, so we're going to call the meeting to order of the Select Board Friday, February 14th. It's a Zoom webinar, 11:30 a.m. So first, we're going to call the meeting to order. The second order of business is executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A and 21A3, discussion/strategy with respect to litigation, the Attorney General versus the Town of Milton et al., number SJ-13580, number SJ-2024-0078, Supreme Judicial Court, Suffolk County. I will take a motion to adjourn from open session, enter into the executive session for a discussion regarding strategy with respect to litigation filed by the Attorney General versus the Town of Milton et al., number SJ-13580, number SJ-2024-0078, Supreme Judicial Court, Suffolk County, based on my belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the Select Board. The Select Board will not return to open session.
We will return to open session.
We will.
Will return, sorry.
Yeah.
We will?
Yeah.
Yes, we will. Sorry about that,
Yeah, we'll come back. We will, yes.
We will. All right. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you. We'll do a roll call. Mr. Zoll.
Abstain.
Okay. Mr. Cohane.
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Ms. Bradley.
Yes.
And myself, yes.
We're back in public session. Welcome back. I'm going to go to item 3 on the agenda. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Good, you're good. So we're going to go to item 3 of the agenda, which is discussion and vote on approval, disapproval on the town of Milton's action plan per our emergency regulations related to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 3A, MBTA Communities Act. So at this point, I'm ready to entertain a motion. Either we are going to submit. Either we're going to submit an action plan at this time per the emergency regulations or not submit. So I'll be willing to accept the motion whether to submit or not submit. Committee members.
I'll make a motion that we should submit to the action plan as stated and follow the regulations as laid out by HLC.
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. Cohane.
Mr. Chair, I believe we could have a discussion about this.
All right, discussion. So
Can I make a statement about this?
sure.
Thank you very
I
much.
knew you wanted to make one, so this is how you're gonna get
This will be it. This will be it. You won't hear from me much after this. So for everyone listening, my friends and my neighbors, I want to make a single statement on the MBTA community's decision. And for those of you who know me, you'll be unsurprised that I have a little history to share. Specifically, one of the most controversial court decisions in Massachusetts, one that set neighbor against neighbor and tried our notions of fairness and responsibility. I'm referring, of course, to the Boston Massacre. John Adams stated in his successful defense of the accused British soldiers that, quote, "Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of passions, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence." He continued, "The law, in all vicissitudes of governments, fluctuations of passions, or flights of enthusiasm, will preserve a steady, undeviating course. It will not bend to the uncertain wishes, imagination, or wanton tempers of men." And as someone with a temper that has been described at times as wanton, I have not made my feelings about Milton violating the MBTA Communities Act a secret. In fact, the plan that was proposed would have resulted in an increased tax revenue, including commercial revenue, and would have been a boon for our town and our schools with all of the issues that we face today. Once the citizens of Milton voted against the zoning plan in a special election that cost the town $60,000, we could call that a town staffer, I did not stand in the way of the case, which has cost the town over $250,000. Let's call that 2 or 3 teachers and legal fees, as well as lost funding that goes beyond that amount. And what I and many others have predicted, that the rule of law would find, of course, that towns must follow state law and that the Attorney General has the power to enforce the law, came to pass. With regards to the MBTA Communities Act, the facts are indeed simple and stubborn. We have lost the case. The state has promulgated new guidelines, no different from before, and the court in its decision has said that these guidelines are enforceable. Even the most creative reading of the verdict to try and glean some small comfort from the words of justices cannot ignore the fact that Milton lost on the counts that matter. The law is legal and enforceable, and once the guidelines are in place, we will be again at the risk of lost monies and more. Of course, we have also lost our negotiating position with this verdict. The idea that we are now in a position to tell the state how we won't obey the law was, I thought, ludicrous. But now there seems to be a growing acceptance of lawlessness, both here in town as well as in Washington, D.C. We now have in the White House a tyrant who rejects the rule of law, who picks and chooses which norms he will follow, and by doing so threatens the very fabric of our nation. In November, Milton rejected Trumpism resoundingly. We must now reject the Trumpian instinct to abandon the rule of law when we feel like it. It is, of course, okay to challenge a law in court, but when one loses unanimously, one must accept that loss and move on as best possible. Pretending that a loss is a victory, continuing to disobey the law, refusing to discuss our plans in public, this is not what democracy looks like, locally or nationally. When Milton voted against a new zoning plan that complied with state law, it did not vote for endless litigation at ridiculous costs borne by taxpayers. It did not vote for the continued forfeiture of state funding and grants, which our town desperately needs. And it did not vote to allow the planning board to spend their time discussing lawsuits, or for the select board to meet in private without citizen input to decide the best course for our future. It is time for the planning board to produce a compliant plan. It is time for the select board to stop pretending that we are an island in the stream instead of one small special part of this beautiful Commonwealth, directly connected, yes, by public transit. We must accept the rule of law. We must plan for our future instead of clinging to an imaginary past, not only because it will benefit us, not only because it will make our town stronger, but because following the law is the right thing to do, and it is the right example to set. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Zoll. I can't see, okay, so motion on full motion, seconded, all those in favor? Miss, am I right? Yeah, Miss Musk. Yes, this will be a roll call vote. Miss Musto,
No.
Mr. Cohen,
No.
Miss Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Zoll,
Yes.
and myself, no. So the second item of this is that, do we need to vote on this? Or we're going, oh, so
I think so,
yeah, the second item is, I thank Mr. Zoll for his comments. I don't agree with all of it. There are some things I do, but we are on emergency guidelines and we still do have active litigation. And I believe everyone heard what I said. What is the updates this week that, there is perhaps a new path there for us to take. I've spoken, both Senator Driscoll and I've spoken great length that he started this before I did. So one of the options here was to anchor as a commuter community. We do have 3 commuter stations within 0.37 miles of the town. Adjacent community, but it's so to that because of the commuter rail. And as I said earlier, tell you, one of them wasn't even built when this whole process started. So we do have a letter here that we will be sending to Secretary Augustus, which outlines we are still on emergency guidelines. We are looking forward to the permanent regulations. I know there is some speculation that it won't change. We live in a democratic society. Anything can change at any given day. And I learned that more and more each day in this world. So we will be sending this letter, and we're going to take a vote to send this letter. So the letter that's been prepared by Mr. Milano, which will be sent to HLC. I would entertain the motion. I'll actually make the motion that we submit this letter to Secretary Augustus. The letter will be public, it'll be on the town's website, so people will be able to see it. As I've said repeatedly, my final comment on this is that our actions today is not something of defiance, it's about fairness. And at least for me in the law protection, I spent my whole life protecting the law, especially the citizens of this town in more ways than I could count. I'm not going to get into that. So we will be submitting this. I look forward to continue dialogue with them. I thank HLC and the secretary for the opportunity he gave to Senator Driscoll and myself this week. And I look forward to our staff being able to go in there and meet with them to present this case. So given that, I made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ms. Musto. And this again will be a roll call vote. Ms. Musto,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
No.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Zoll,
No.
and myself, yes. So what, I don't know, we'll have it up, but it'll be up, and I thank everyone that has weighed in on this, and I respect both sides on this. But this is a really tough decision, and as I said the other night when we were discussing the school matter, 0286 is the zip code for all us, it's the place we call home. And while we may have different views politically at all times, I think all of us care deeply about this town, its makeup, its departments, its citizens, its citizens from the youngest to the oldest in so many ways, and I have great faith. I always speak of being a person of faith. I have great faith that we will be able to bring this to a conclusion that will be amenable to everyone. There'll be no ticker tape parades, but successes in life come from dialogue, and I have great faith in communication. So I thank all the members for their comments and their work on this, regardless of their opinion on it. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Musto. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I'll
Second by
second.
Second by Mr. Cohen. Ms. Musto,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Zoll,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
and myself, yes, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a
Thank you.
great February vacation and be safe.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
Thank you.